Hello and welcome to a special broadcasting of Zombiepalooza Radio. We're going to be sans Dead Door William and Scott Pearson tonight, but we do have someone that is going to be sitting in the co-host chair. We've got Lisa Vasquez. Lisa Vasquez is from Stitched Smile Publications, and I know you guys have been seeing a lot about this show on my pages, and so what we're going to do is we're going to also cut the feedback because I'm hearing me. So if you're got anything else open, thank you. Cool. All right. So we today also have our very, very special guest. His name is AJ Brown, and he is the author of
A Stitch of Madness.
Stitch of Madness. I'm more nervous than you guys. It's been a while since I've actually done a broadcast. All right, so we're going to bring on AJ, and what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to start talking about your newest release, A Stitch of Madness, with with our awesome Stitched Smiles Publications
Awesome.
publisher. I don't know. I guess I feel like this is my first radio show. All of that, first of the new year. You know how this is going on. All right. So, Jeff.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm from South Carolina. I'm kind of a country boy in the city. I married to a beautiful, awesome woman. She's really amazing. Have two crazy kids. When I say crazy, I literally mean they are crazy. I am a Lego maniac. I don't drink any alcohol. I'm highly allergic to it. Which kind of sucks because there are days I could really use a beer. But
all right, so Jeff, what got you started into the writing process and started having you go into the direction and the genre of horror?
Well, years ago, I kept having this really bad nightmare, and it was two characters. Their name was Chucky and Alex. And it would not go away. And finally, somebody told me a story about the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and where it came from. And it turns out the story isn't true. But the story was essentially Stevenson, who wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, kept having this nightmare, and his doctor supposedly told him, write the nightmare down, and it will go away. So he wrote the nightmare down, and it didn't go away. So the doctor said, why don't you let me look at it? And turns out that there was no details, and it was just he wrote the dream. He didn't actually write the story. So he went back, he rewrote the story after he had the nightmare again, and then he never had the nightmare after that. So having been told that, I just sat down and I wrote this 8-page story called Chucky, based on the nightmare that I'd had the night before, and I never had the nightmare again. However, it worked. But I found that creating the two characters and the storyline was really fascinating. And I started experimenting with writing and kind of took off from there. And that was a long time ago. but it was, even though the story of Robert Louis Stevenson wasn't true, it served its purpose for what I needed. And I've been writing ever since. I have not stopped writing since, and I've written probably 950 short stories since then. And it's kind of crazy.
Excuse me. We're going to go over to Lisa Vasquez, and she is the CEO and founder of Stitched Smile Publications. Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself and how it happened that you created this particular pub house.
Okay. Going back to, I'm a writer first and foremost. And what I noticed is that a lot of people that I was associated with were independent authors, and they were having a problem with finding a publisher that was focusing on their work, really putting their work out there, and concerned with their needs. Not every author is a paper cutout, so you have to address each one of their needs a little differently. And then, there's going to be weaknesses. Everybody has one, so we focus on what they need to be developed. And that's what I was seeing that was lacking in a lot of the other companies. And not to badmouth any of them, it was just, being an author and being around everybody else who was kind of saying the same things. I thought, well, you know what? Let's see what we can do. And so I started helping them do with book covers and help with formatting and a little bit of going back and forth with advertising and things like that, just what was working and what wasn't. I know you've had PM Barnes on the show before. Her and I have collaborated a lot. Just going back and forth because Facebook has evolved, and I think it's evolved quicker than we have as far as groups and what works as far as advertising. And so then I joined the Horror Writers Association and learned a lot from them and my mentor there. And just they have a plethora of resources that you can tap into, and which I did. And so when I did that, I kind of sat down with you, Jackie, and we kind of went over the, what are we doing? What should we do? What's needed? And it was kind of born from there. I mean, Jackie drilled the crap out of me, and then but in doing so, it solidified my ideas. It solidified what I was doing, and I think as she was doing that, I was writing down the business model. So.
Good. All right. So let me ask you. I know that you've run into a lot of different manuscripts, and especially in the horror genre. What was it about A.J. Brown's manuscript that got you to decide that you wanted to have not only it published, but have this one go the first book out?
AJ and I have talked a lot for I think probably about a year, and we've gone back and forth talking about our experience with the different publishing houses, and I've let him read some of my work. He's interviewed me before, and I think it was just a mutual respect first of all, and then when I actually sat and read his book, A Stitch of Madness, I liked that it was old school. It was simple, but it was the fundamentals of what I believe horror is, and I'm an old school girl, so I really liked it because it was clean. It was not clean as in there's no gore in it, but clean as the format itself was very clean and simple, and horror. There's different kinds of horror, and his goes right to, like he was saying, those nightmares and different aspects of dreams that we face on a daily basis. So it's not some of it is you're going to have horror that's gore, you're going to have horror that is splatter, you're going to have horror that is monsters and things like that. But his, I thought, was just it fit our theme as far as the company as well. So we were like, this is a sign, this is what we really need to do. And he said, I want you to have it, and I said, I want to take it. So we did.
And then when she said, yes, AJ, what was that like for you, that whole experience?
I was stoked. I was, like Lisa said, we've been talking for about a year or so, and we did compare notes with on other publishers and things that were kind of not right within the publishing business, and I think that's a good way to put it.
Right.
And when I didn't realize that StitchedSmilePublications was hers at first, and when I did realize it, I asked her. I said, "Hey, is this yours?" And because all the information I was researching for it, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute, I know this person." So, but when she read it and when she told me she liked it, I was really stoked. I think I was more stoked that somebody besides myself liked it. And some people don't like my writing style because I don't just jump right into a story. So when she said that she wanted it and that Actually, I took the biggest compliment when she said her editor said, "Sign this boy now," and I was like, "Yes, that's it." And that was really cool.
Mm.
All right, so let me think where I want to go with this. If you were to describe a stitch of madness, what would be a 3-word phrase for you to do that?
Wow, 3 words.
I'm giving you 3 words. I give a lot of people only 1. I'm giving you
Well,
3.
1 is simple madness.
But what kind of madness?
I would say stitch of madness, and 3 words. I don't know if I can do it. But it's kind of like falling down a rabbit hole.
Mm.
You know, it's like falling down a rabbit hole and not being able to get out, and you kind of get wrapped inside the madness, and you don't really realize you're going crazy. And so, describing it in 3 words would be very difficult. But I guess. Oh man, that's a good question. I would say inside out crazy is a good way to put it, because that's what it is. It's from the inside to the outside, going crazy.
That's great.
I love that. Look what you did. You did that there. All right. So as we're going along in this particular mode, what I want to now refer to is the moment you actually had the conception that you were going to create a book called A Stitch of Madness. What was that like for you? What was going on around you at the time that you kind of like had that epiphany?
Well, originally, I wasn't going to publish A Stitch of Madness. Originally, I was just going to do it for festivals. I was just going to put a book together for festivals as prizes and stuff like that. But when I put it together, and I came up with the idea that the 3 stories are all based around madness, and one of the stories is actually called Stitches. So I kind of wanted that particular word in there because of that second story. And so it just kind of fell into place that it would be A Stitch of Madness. But then after I went through and I edited it and I re-edited it and I worked on it, I was like, man, this is actually really, really good. I didn't want to just give it away at festivals, 1 or 2 at a time. Over the next couple of years, I want other people to be able to read it. And because
Right.
I believe in my work and I know it's good.
Right.
And so that's what
All right. We're going to change up a little bit. There's a poet. His name is John Rabicki. And he was asked to give 3 words, a phrase, on what the writing process was like for him. And what he said was lunging at vacancy. When we're thinking about your process, that whole thing about taking words from different places and putting now putting them in the right order, what was it like for you?
Well, I'm pretty much a train of thought type writer. I write a lot like I talk, and so the writing process was actually easy. Putting together the stories was fairly easy because I had an idea, and it just kind of went. So the writing process was actually fairly easy for those particular stories. But the writing process as a whole,
Yes.
it's like pulling your hair out. I mean, it can be really frustrating because, especially if you're like me, I like to get the story out and then go back and make sure I have everything in place. But I can't do that. I always go back if I spend 3 hours writing, then the next day I'll spend the first hour reading it and making changes, and it drives me bonkers that I can't just go forward. And I hate that. But I would say it's maddening. It literally is it drives me nuts when I sit down to write because I can't just write. I have to go back over.
I compare it to putting a bucket on your head and keep walking into the same wall. That's exactly what it's like.
I can get that. I understand that.
I understand that quite well.
All right.
Like
So
somebody
we're
thumping you on the forehead.
I know, right? So where the heck was I going? Give me, if you had to allow for yourself to only be, hi, I got this. All right. You're in a cabin in the woods. Okay? You're doing a Robert Frost thing. And so you've got some civilization. We know the story for, I'm not giving any spoilers about that, but he wasn't really that far distant. But what he was allowing himself to do was imagine and bring that concept to the paper so that anybody reading it would understand that, if nothing else, in his mind, he's in this beautiful forest and all of these other things are going on. When you go about your writing process, hopefully you do get a cabin in the woods, but what is that part of it like for you to be able to create the environment for a Stitch of Madness?
Oh, that was each story was so different in how it was done. As far as, I mean, they were easy to write because they just flowed. But for me, like Catherine's well, there was this huge well in Newberry, and when I wrote that particular part about the well, I drew from that, and I wanted people to picture the well by this lake. And for me, with the internet and all this social media and stuff, you can go online and find any pictures, and that's why so many writers don't write descriptive verse anymore. And to me, it's very important that you understand, hey, that's actually brick, that's actually the dirt, that's actually, that's a glass window. It's very important for me to describe but not over describe. I don't go into 10 pages of detail like certain writers that we know and love. And I want to write just enough so you get the atmosphere, the feel of the character, the feel of what's around that person. And because for me, scenery isn't it. Palpable fear is it. And see, a lot of people don't seem to understand that you can take your emotions and make it part of scenery. You can take your true feelings and what's going on inside that character's head and make it part of the scenery. Because you got rain, you got sun, you got night, you got morning, you got midday, all this stuff. And if you have those emotions in with all that, it becomes part of the scenery.
Right.
And people don't seem to grasp that. And for me, that's part of what I write. Is I love writing, tying the actual descriptions in with the character's feelings and emotions at that particular time, and it really, to me, brings out the actual story and the feeling of the story, if that makes sense.
It does indeed. So what for you, I guess, I would ask, is the most difficult part of creating a Stitch of Madness?
Really, I would say the editing was horrible for me, because I do use so many words. I don't get right into it, and then I realize, oh God, I used this word like 16 times. I got to find 14 other words to replace it.
It forces you to think. It forces you
does.
to pull out more of what is inside onto the paper.
Absolutely.
Once that process, though, started coming around after the editing started coming together, then were you able to see it come together as a more cohesive idea?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what makes these three stories so cool, is because each one is a different type of madness. And when we came up with the back cover, and I was kind of struggling with that, I actually went to the dictionary and looked up madness, and there were 3 definitions, and each one of those different definitions described one of the stories. So they had all linked themselves together without me even realizing they had linked themselves together. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, this is the right 3. Because I was thinking about putting a 4th one in, and then when I looked at that 4th one, it didn't fit with the other 3, so I scrapped it. And so it was kind of a neat process after I realized that they were all centered around the same thing. And you know, that was cool. But other than that, you know.
Okay, we're going to go over to Lisa right now, and I'm going to put you on the main screen. So give me a second to do that. All right. And I'm going to make the box there like that color. There we go. So you're going to stay on there, even though we're going blah, blah, blah. All right. Whom did the editing for A Stitched of Madness?
Actually, he did. He did most of the editing, and we had somebody go over and proof it. Yeah, so we had somebody go, you know, some of our editors go over and proof it. Veronica Smith was the first one, I think, to touch it after that. And she was ecstatic, and she said, please, you know, you have to get him. And I was like, well, I kind of already did, so make sure it's right. But yeah, he did most of the work for everything on his book. I did the cover, and then yeah, I think we even did like a last-minute edit to it, and then he did the back cover, and that was it. So it was, and that was the best part about it, was that it was really his, and we really came together, and it was a very intimate, you know, piecing together, and then, you know, we put it out there, and it was beautiful.
All right, I'm going to open up the entire thing now, so that hopefully everybody will be able to do what they. Oh no, we'll put you on. We'll put AJ on.
Sure.
And blew him. There you are. All right, so now you're in the main spotlight. That cover.
Yes.
It's bitchin'. It's awesome. It's like I looked at that and I went, that's just definitely an inspiring, awesome cover. And I'm not just saying that just because Lisa's there. I'm like the pieces, all of the elements, the coloring of the elements, the style of how it was put together, all of that, wonderful. How did you go about getting that particular kind of cover for this book? How'd you do that?
99.9% of that was all Lisa. The only thing I did was she sent me a cover, she sent me an image, and the original image had a couple of, and I'm really not sure what it was, but there's a couple extra things in there. You told me once, but I can't remember. But,
they were insides.
Okay, yeah. But I was like, I'm not sure that fits. And then she took it out and she added a couple other things in that blank spot between the title and the man in the jar. And I was like, no, I think it would look good without it. And she took it out, and when my wife was sitting over my shoulder and she went, wow, I was like, okay, that's what we're going with. You know, yeah. And the great thing about that is when you look at that cover and you see that man in that jar, and you're like, that's exactly what it's like. It's being trapped in a jar with your own madness, and you can't get out.
Right.
You know.
All right.
I was just
we're gonna have Lisa bring up this cover, and I'm just gonna leave you on. There you go. So.
There we go.
That is so. It's just so cool. It's just really
It
cool.
is. It is awesome.
So, so Lisa, when you when you go to style a cover, not just for Stitched, but for you know, other people whom would come to you and say, I would like to have you do something for me. What kinds of things do you need to be able to create that cover? What do you need from the author to do that?
The first thing I need from the author is basically I need them to tell me, when somebody looks at your book, what is the message you want them to get? Do you want them to to tell the story by the cover? Do you want to just focus on one element? Like some people will write a book about a house, a scary haunted house. They want just the house. You know, I did a couple covers for Mike Evans, and so we wanted all of his to be cohesive, and we wanted it to focus on Gabriel, and we wanted it to focus on, you know, one specific element of that book because there's a series. And so, you know, when you're mapping that out, it's easier because I did his all at once, but when you're mapping it out with somebody, you want to make sure that you and the author are on the same page. So I just ask them, what's the feel of the book? What is it about the book that you're passionate about? When somebody walks by the shelf in a bookstore and they look at your cover, what is it that you want to pull them in? And so when I get them talking about the book, sometimes what happens is they're like, well, there's a house and there's a woods, but then they start speeding up their talk and they're like, and then there was this monster and he was coming out of the lake, and you're like, okay, that's it right there. And so you take that and you kind of run with it, and hopefully you got a feel for the author and what they really want. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but sometimes it works really well. And with us, I think it worked really well.
It really did. It really did.
All right, we're going to go back over to Jeff. Okay, so Jeff, when authors create in the horror genre, there is very often a psychological element to it. That's part of the reason why people love or don't love horror, because there's all that psychological play going on. But you can't overwhelm the reader with all of these separate sections. You have to allow it to be subtle. You have to allow them to be able to walk into this person's experience and go, I can feel for the characters, I like them or I hate them, or they remind me of someone, maybe me, maybe someone I know, all of that. As you're going through A Stitch of Madness, what kind of psychological elements are you bringing to the reader so that they may enjoy the experience more profoundly?
Well, psychological and emotional go hand in hand. And what I played on the most in this particular book is a lot of the emotional aspect, because as a character emotionally erodes, psychologically they get frayed, you know, and so from you know, Johnny at the beginning, Robert at the end, you know, they all go through an emotional experience that causes that psychological losing control, losing their mind, and I think the most important part, and a lot of things that we forget, is psychological issues generally are drawn from emotion to start with, you know, and you have to play on those emotions in order to be able to you got to be able to touch the reader. And what's the best way to touch the reader is get into their emotions, you know, and if you can get the reader to feel something, they're going to feel that person slowly start to lose control. They're going to feel that person slowly start going, what the heck is going on? They're going to feel that person, like, you know, they're going to feel that person going through their abuse. They're going to feel that person dealing with a murder. They're going to feel that person going, wait a minute, I don't recall this. Are you sure this happened? And then they start having to think about it, you know, and the emotion leads to the psychological.
All right, I have an idea for you about this book. I'm thinking, because that it is really developed on the 3 forms of madness, that it would work really well in a classroom for either 12th graders or at college level. That's one thing I'd like to see about getting this in, so that we can get you more exposure in that way. So I'm just throwing that out there. Think about that. The other part of this, and I want to go now a little bit more between both of you, as far as beta readers. And I know I saw some comments about people who had had the privilege to be able to read this before it actually came out. What was the I guess, the most cohesiveness that they had when they were reading it? What did they say that was most alike when they were talking about A Stitch of Madness?
Old school horror.
Yeah.
That's what I heard the most is old school horror, and easy to read. You know, which if you read old school horror, go back. They're all easy to read. You know, that's what I've heard the most.
Yeah, the same here. We have a beta group just for Stitch Smile Publications, and so they're readers that I've seen around, and I trust with getting the author's work beforehand. So while he was doing the final edits on all of his stuff and we were getting ready to roll, I sent it out to them, and they just loved it. They received it very warmly. It's a short read, so it's fast. They got through it really fast and easy, and it was. He even had, and I don't want to single anybody out by name, so I'm not going to do that, but he even had somebody who had some issues with some triggers, and he's a very sweet guy, and he got through them, and he said it was okay. He understood why it was in the book, and he was able to get through it, and that was really important to us because, as horror writers and a horror book company, publisher, we are going to touch on, like he said, those emotions and psychological issues that people are dealing with, and we have a lot of veterans that are going through PTSD, and people that have gone through childhood trauma, going through a lot of things, and so when they can get through the triggers, they understand why they're there, and they still love your book, then we did a good thing, I think.
All right,
that worried me.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and move on to that particular topic. All right, so, where'd AJ go?
I'm here.
I
still see me.
There you are. You needed to say something. I had to click on it while you were still talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking. I didn't.
You are fading in and out. I'm like, no, just stay there. All right. So many authors I've had on the show, and one of the reasons why I'm doing this show, since we've already started touching on this, is that they find a release in doing like apocalyptic work or in horror work. I'm finding this too, that it helps them work out particular issues and things that they're going through, and as they put it out there, and then somebody picks it up and they, they're flipping through it and they're reading and they're like, damn, and it gets them. Is that something that you did intentionally, or do you believe that it happened through the process of allowing what you had inside you to come out?
Well, most of what I write is intentional. Very few of, I gotta make sure, I want to say this right. Very little of my past or anything is in my work. Some of the characters are drawn from that. Some of the situations may be drawn from that. Some of them may be drawn from something that happened to somebody. But most of what I write is intentional. The stuff that's not intentional, that comes out like that, nobody sees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just that. Those stay on my computer and they stay in a special folder that's not even with my stories.
Very cool. All right, so we're going to talk about character development. We do that a lot on the show, and so one of the things that we talk about is the process of how these characters get created in the first place. Some authors, they go, well, there's like a green room and these people come in and they sit down and I get to observe them, and we go from there. Or they come up and they acknowledge themselves, or some of them just like throw themselves out and they go, I'm blah blah blah, this is what I look like, this is what I want, and I ain't doing anything else, anything else. Or there's another way of doing it where you go down in your dungeon and you start to get them picked, pieces and parts from different kinds of things, situations, kind of sort of like that Frankenstein method of creating a character. So for you, Jeff,
Mhm.
how did you go about creating the characters in A Stitch of Madness?
I people watch. I people watch. I watch mannerisms. I watch a lot of stuff, and it's funny because I can usually tell somebody, okay, this person's about to do this, and it'll usually happen. But I generally draw on what I see, and like Johnny in the first story, Catherine as well. A lot of Johnny, the actual character of Johnny, is me. A lot of some of the things that he went through while dealing with Buster's situation is kind of the way I would have dealt with things. So Johnny is a direct draw from me. And now Robert at the end I don't know where he came from. I mean, he's like, I was like, what the heck? Because he's kind of a, if you look at his past, he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of a racist. He's kind of, that's nothing. That's completely opposite of me. So I don't know I think that's probably where he came from, because he's kind of like the opposite of me as far as some of the things that he did. He refuses to acknowledge. Now, Irene, man, she's messed up from the neck up. But Irene just kind of came about because I wanted to write a female character that bothered me. I wanted a character that would if I was to meet her, that would disturb me. And that is what happened. Is Irene? That is what happened. She is probably the only female character I've ever written that I'm like, oh man, that's messed up.
All right, we're going to go over to Lisa now. Okay, Lisa, you enjoy horror.
Yes.
What are 3 elements that must be in place for a manuscript to scream horror?
Oh, and it's funny you bring that up, because we actually we pride ourselves on kind of going a unique direction. We don't do just strictly horror, so we can do like science fiction horror, romance horror. I've got one of those, and but I think we had already touched on some of it. Is that you definitely have to have the emotion there. If people aren't emotionally attached to your character and they're not relating to them, it's not going to pull them in. We definitely want to make sure that the psychological is there, because it's like he was saying, it goes hand in hand. The psychological pulls from the emotion, but the emotion also comes from the psychological. And then definitely is the ability to scare somebody. I mean, you could say that there's a formula, but there's really not, because I've been watching thrillers, and I'll get scared more than I am from watching, Freddy Krueger or Candyman or something like that. So, and for example, Candyman, that was filmed in my hometown of Chicago, and that scared me more than Candyman himself. So, I knew that neighborhood, I knew what it was all about, and I just said, you know what, that character coupled with what Cabrini Green really was scared the crap out of me. So people are going to take what they will out of it, and I think that if you can get drawn in to whatever it is and you feel uncomfortable, that's what I'm looking for.
All right, we're going to move back over to AJ. Okay, AJ. That very first paragraph is really important. And it doesn't matter that it's just the first story and that these are in 3 sections and all of that. As a matter of fact, you got it ×3, I guess. Which is another 3 there. There you go. We're counting 3s lately. Lisa?
Yes, we are.
What I want to know is Where the hell was I going with that thing? All right.
We got thrown off by the threes.
I kind of like went off of there. Yeah, when I
talking
hit
about
that.
the first paragraph.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much. Somebody's paying attention here. Not me. I'm not paying attention. That first paragraph, how long did it take you to write that first paragraph? And were there any struggles? Did it just pop out and you were like, boom, that's great? What did you do?
Almost every story, if the first sentence isn't there for me, I don't write it. And that sounds a little crazy because I know a lot of people who's like, I will struggle over this and I will struggle over that. To me, the important thing is if that first sentence does not flow the way I write, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to write it. There have been numerous stories that I've just said, nope, not doing it. If the first sentence didn't work, all of the first sentences, the first paragraphs of those stories, they came and the story took off. There was no struggle in that. It was there. The struggle comes on the stories I don't write.
All right. So here's where I'm going to go next. Do you have your book in front of you, or a manuscript, or anything that's got that on there?
I actually do not, but I can.
Pull it up.
I'll go get it.
Well, let me just minimize this just a little.
I'm asking AJ because I want him to read it.
All righty, hold on one second. I'm pulling it up right now.
How about that poster, AJ?
That is an awesome poster. I mean, really, everything that Lisa and her group has done has been phenomenal. And I mean, I have a lot of people talking about it.
We're going to talk a little bit about that after we get you to finish the main part of it, and then I'm going to let you talk about that.
Okay, you want Miss Catherine as well, right?
I want the first sentence out of the first page of the book.
Alrighty, hold on one second.
And I'll wait for Lisa to come back. She's over there.
I'm right here. Sorry.
Hi, dear. All right.
I'm
waiting for him to get it.
I have so many files on this story. Let's see. Here we go.
You got it? All right. Now I'm gonna.
It's coming up.
Okay. Don't start yet. Don't. Okay. Cool. All right. Just raise your hand or something like that when you actually see it on your screen.
Oh, wait, dadgummit. Grabbed the wrong story. I actually grabbed the first story. The whole thing. Okay, there we go. It's coming up.
You got it?
It's coming up. I actually grabbed the last story, not the first story, and I'm just...
I don't want to give it...
Here we go.
Nothing else. Wait, all right, just wait. Wait, though, okay?
I'll wait.
All right. So, Lisa... I don't want you to read the first line, but I want you to tell me when you saw that first line. I'm going to put you on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? The first thought, bam.
I thought that was probably the best opening line I'd read in a while because, and I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it encompasses everything about how you feel when you're going through something like that. I'm trying not to give anything away as I talk.
Right.
But yeah, that's what.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna move over. We're gonna move over to AJ. I'm gonna put you on the big screen, and there you are. AJ Brown, author of A Stitch of Madness. What is your first line?
The first line is, there are things in life you wish to forget, or at the very least, push to the back of your mind so the memories only surface every once in a while. That's the very first sentence.
Ooh, goosebumps. All right. That's just, and we're not going to give anything else away about this book. You got to get it. Now we're going to talk about this crazy company called StitchedSmilePublications from the author viewpoint of AJ Brown. What do you think about how we're doing so far?
If Lisa lived in South Carolina, I'd hug her. I wouldn't kiss her because my wife would probably punch me. But you know, and the same with you, Jackie, and the same with Veronica and Jennifer and everybody who's worked on this. Here's the thing: is I've never had such a backing of anything I've ever done, as far as writing is concerned. From the very moment Lisa and I started talking about this, I even asked her because I was concerned with the fact that 2 of these stories have been published 10, 12 years ago. Though they've been completely rewritten, I was concerned about that, and I didn't want to cause any conflicts. But from the very beginning, Lisa and you and several others has just been, you know, let's help you do this. And one of the biggest things that I have a hard time with, and something that I've learned over the last 2 or 3 months, and it's kind of kickstarted me in another direction, is talking about yourself isn't necessarily bragging if you can back it up.
Right.
That's right, baby.
I was always taught not to brag, and so every time I talk about my work, especially in a marketing sense, it always kind of made me go, that sounds like bragging, even though it's really not. You're trying to pimp your work. You're trying to get people to read it, and that's the most important thing, is you got to get people to read these things. But I saw the first, not the first thing, but when I saw the video trailer that was made, my wife saw it first, and she was at home, and when I got home, when she came and picked me up, and she goes, "Wait till you get home. You've got to see this." And I was like, okay. And so she goes, "Go to your computer," and so she's talking about it, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because when my wife's like that, it's like, okay, something's up, you know. And so, but she was so excited, and so to me, and here's what's since I've been writing, my wife has been my biggest supporter, my biggest fan, and to see her get excited was just like, I think that was more of a special thing for me, to see her get excited. I got more excited because she got more excited, and she talks about, you know, cover art. She you know, the thing that Michael Freeman did, that crazy sounding garbling video that he did that's on YouTube and Vimeo right now. It's like, that was so disturbing. My wife was like, "That is awesome." But the whole experience has been so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen anything like it? I know you travel in author circles. Has anybody ever said anything like this before, ever?
No, that's the thing. See, here's the thing. I've worked with a lot of different people over the years. You know, I've got, I don't know, 200-something publications. You know, I've never had the type of backing from a publisher. Now, back when Dark Continents Publishing was around, that was as close as I could say what Lisa's doing with this group, because they really pushed as much as they possibly could, and I really appreciate the people over there that did that. But Lisa and you and her staff has just kind of like completely stepped it up in a whole different generation of awesomeness, and just I can't really explain it without just like I said, if she was here, I'd give her a hug, because it's just one of those things that when a publisher gets behind you the way SSP has done with me, it makes you feel like you're going in the right direction. You know, and to me, so often publishers will say, "We got this person. We're going to put their book out." And then once the book's out, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship essentially ends, with the exception of royalty checks and re-signing contracts, and every once in a while, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's this? You know, but this has been a total massive breath of fresh air.
All right, I want you to talk about your cover release, that event that we did, that 2-hour event. Tell me in 3 words what that was like for you.
Terrifying, awesome, and exciting. That was terrifying, awesome, and exciting. I was terrified because I'd never done anything like it. It was awesome because once people started commenting and getting excited about it, it kind of got me more and more excited. And the thing about this is, it was after the cover release that I really started seeing the actual benefits of that particular event. You know, because next thing you know, my author page on Facebook kind of blew up. My Amazon page kind of blew up. My personal page blew up. Well, I mean, oh my God, must have been 25 friend requests, and 2/3 of those people were at that event. I now have these. I love these women. They're awesome. I now have these women who were at this event who I call them my roadies. And it's a long story, but there's some really awesome. One of them had a thing on her Facebook page that said, "Authors are my rock stars." And next thing you know, we're talking, and I'm like, "I need some roadies." And here's these women. All of a sudden, they're like my roadies, and every one of them were at this event, and they hey, let me tell you about this book. Hey, let me tell you about this guy. Hey, let me tell you about this. And my brown bag stories, the booklets I put out every month, people have been asking for them and requesting them. And this, the huge spike in the stuff I've been able to do and stuff that people are like, "Hey, can I get in on this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you know," and awesome, yeah. So that release, that cover release, and oh, by the way, I mean, I got so many people who are like, "Who the heck did that cover?" So the experience of the event was phenomenal. Matter of fact, I couldn't keep up. I mean, people were hitting it so fast, I couldn't keep up. It was 3 or 4 hours later when I finally got done reading all the posts and all the comments and all this, that, and the other, and then it was days and days and days of buzz and buzz and buzz, and it was just awesome, and it was a good feeling. It's something that again, I've never had from a publisher before, and it was really awesome. It was amazing.
That's so cool. I'm just like, yeah, all right. so damn. All right. We're right now we're at 9:54, which is like a few minutes before the close of the hour. What I normally do here is I normally have the guests give out links and things of that sort, shout outs and all of that. I need to find out when exactly this book will be hit and where it's going, you know, how people are going to be able to buy it and all that, when it's actually going live. Lisa.
Jackie, just real quick, we did on the event page today, we asked if anybody wanted to ask a question live. Would you like me to choose one for him to ask?
Yeah, we need to do that. Sorry.
That's okay. We got really wrapped up, and I didn't want to leave out our fans. So
go ahead.
This is from Jennifer Miller, and she said, "What is the favorite story that you have penned? Your favorite story?"
Mine overall, or just in that book?
No, yours overall. The favorite one that you have. I'm gathering. She just said in general.
Well, there's two. Corey's Way, the novel I released back in 2014 at the end of the year. That one is that story actually has a lot of elements from my childhood in it. And it's just I love it. But The Woodshed is based off of a story my dad told me when I was a kid that stuck with me and stuck with me and stuck with me until I finally wrote it. And after I wrote it, I realized just how disturbing the story was that my dad told me. And I realized that's why it stuck with me the way it did, because of my wild imagination picturing what my dad was telling me, and a lot of that actually ended up in the story of The Woodshed, and to me that was one of the more impactful stories that I ever wrote.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll let Jennifer know that your question got answered on the live show. Yay. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for that. And okay, Jackie, what did you want me to give you? What links?
I need to, first I need to find out when exactly this book is going live so people can start buying it, and where they can be able to buy it from, and how Stitch does that.
Okay, so right now the link is live. We let it go a little bit early because we had people that were just, they kind of seemed bummed because we were going to do a midnight releasing, and so some of them were saying, oh, I can't make it that late. So I said, you know what, it's live. Go ahead and give it to them, let them have it. So it is live right now on Amazon for ebook and paperback, and it should be released everywhere else after that. Amazon takes a little bit of time, so we'll give it probably 3 to 5 days, and it should be everywhere else.
Check you out. That's awesome. All right, we're gonna go back over to AJ.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, so it's live.
Yes, I'm excited. There's already a couple of reviews up.
That's right.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right, so I was wondering, I did see reviews, and I'm like, how did he, but I was busy today. I had some stuff I got to do and all that.
I think they got the reviews up before I even told them it was live, didn't they?
I think they did, because I saw a few of them, but I'm thinking, I thought that was like meta reviews, and I'm like, oh, well, I better go back there and go look at that again. So should you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so AJ.
Yes.
It's been a wonderful experience having you on. And although I swear to God, I thought I've had you on this show before, apparently this is your very first experience.
Yay!
Yes.
What do you think about it?
I love it. I want to do it like 18 million more times. It's really cool. I have actually always wanted to be on your show. I did ask about it 5 or 6 months ago, but at the time I didn't have the resources, webcam, the microphone, any of that stuff at the time. So I didn't go on. And we did talk about it, but that was 5 or 6 months ago, easily. And when this came up, I was like, Christmas, I got a little money from something, a couple of gifts, so we said, go out and buy this because I want to do this. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and
cool.
I really enjoyed it, and
all right,
I appreciate it.
I need you to give a shout out for anybody who has been extremely helpful to you outside of the Stitched staff.
Oh, wow. I used to be part of a group called the Horror Library. They are probably the most instrumental people in me still writing, because they taught me a lot. And this is 10, 12 years ago. Boyd Harris, Bailey Hunter, R.J. Cavender, Mark Deloy, Fran Friel, so many people in that group, John Miller, Sue Babcock, oh man, so many of these people, they really kind of shaped a lot of how I write now, because they really took me in when I was really first starting to try to publish stuff, and they said, look, let us help you. Come to this place and let us help you. And they did, and it was just holy cow phenomenal. And I could never, ever repay them for the wisdom that they gave me and the time they took with me.
All right, AJ. So, author of A Stitch of Madness, where can we find that awesome book?
Well, Amazon right now.
Good answer, yay. Amazon.com. Get yourself over there and get a copy of this book, or I'm going to come find you. And you know I will.
Yeah, here you go. This is the book right here.
Woohoo! All right, so I'm going to go over to Lisa for a hot second, and then we're going to get ready to close out. I did mark this for an hour and a half just in case it ran over a little bit.
Awesome.
You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
I'm not just saying that just because I help market you guys. I am very intensely proud of the way this company has started out, and with the people that have done the event so far for Jeff. I've never seen a group of people cohese so quickly, and never having done an event like that. We just finished the other day We did a 12-hour event, folks, for Stitch
Yeah.
Smiles Publications. That is unheard of.
Yeah.
And those pages are still going, probably even now. The last time I checked, they're still posting on that. 12 hours. It is definitely a prominent point that Stitched Smile Publications is the place to be or to learn, whoever you are out there listening to this thing, because I know you're out there, how to do publication right by putting the authors up front, by acknowledging the editors, by acknowledging the graphic people, by acknowledging people that go and acquire new blood, as I like to call it. You guys are doing an amazing job, and you know, good success for you and us.
Yes.
All this 2016. I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna see if I can take everybody off of this thing now. There y'all are. All right. So AJ Brown, author of A Stitch of Madness, thank you so much for being on Zombiepalooza Radio. You did an amazing first interview. We're looking forward to having you on a lot more, and much success to you in this coming year.
Thank you for having me, and you know, again, Lisa, thank you for all you guys have done. It's been a real blast.
My pleasure.
It's been so fun. And Jackie, this was quite honestly one of the best experiences I've had in a while. So thank you for having me on.
You're welcome very much. All right, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show and representing, of course, as the CEO and founder of Stitch Smile Publications. This is Jackie Chin. You have been listening to Zombiepalooza Radio Live. Please like, share, and subscribe, because Crunchy is all about the like, share, and subscribe thing. And Dead Door says hello and good luck to you. And Scott, you know, all of us from Zombiepalooza Radio, talk to you later.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Woohoo.